History tells us of kings and queens who ruled with power beyond imagination. But what if I told you some royals were deliberately erased? Not because they never existed, but because the truth about them was too dangerous to survive. From the Tower of London to the palaces of China, from hidden tombs in Russia to forgotten English crypts, the erasure of royals is a shadowy thread running through history. Tonight, we pull that thread and reveal 7 royals erased from history and the shocking truths they left behind. Our first erased royal was Prince John of England, a boy once destined for greatness, but buried in silence instead. Born in 1905, John was the youngest son of King George V and Queen Mary, a prince by blood, yet never by memory. Afflicted with epilepsy, his life was hidden away from the world, a secret guarded behind palace walls. While his siblings lived in the public eye, John was confined to a remote estate, a royal outcast in his own family. In 1919, at only 13 years old, he passed quietly in the night, his story almost erased from history. Even today, few remember him, the lost child of a monarchy, written out of memory. But John was not alone. History is littered with royals erased from memory, the stories buried in shadows. Our second royal vanished even more completely, erased not by secrecy, but by silence itself. Our next forgotten royal was born into the most dangerous dynasty of all, the Tudors. Catherine Tudor, the youngest daughter of Henry VIII, lived in the shadows of history, her name almost erased. While her siblings fought for crowns, Catherine was hidden away, a princess whose story was never told. Her name was spoken less and less, her presence fading as if she had never been born. While history celebrated her siblings, Catherine was erased from the story, her legacy reduced to silence. She died young, her life a whisper against the roar of Tudor power. Today, few even know her name, a Tudor princess erased from memory itself. Catherine's story ended in silence, but across Europe, other royals too were erased, their names buried in shadows. Our next story begins in Russia, with a child king who was crowned before he could even walk. Ivan VI was a baby emperor, a symbol of power, but also a pawn in a dangerous game. But a throne claimed too young is never secure. Within months, rivals moved to seize power. The infant emperor was torn from the throne, too young to understand the storm around him. His crown was gone. His childhood would be spent not in palaces, but in prisons. As the years passed, Ivan grew up behind stone walls, a forgotten king in a cell. Guards kept watch, but no friends, no tutors, no family came to visit. The boy became a young man, yet his world never grew larger than 4 walls of stone. By adulthood, Ivan had spent every year of his life in captivity, a king who never ruled. He was moved from fortress to fortress, a prisoner whose very existence was considered a threat. At 23, his life ended suddenly, the final act of a royal erased from history. Ivan's story ended in silence, but across Europe there were others too, royals erased as if they had never lived. Our next forgotten royal was a queen of Spain, born to power, yet remembered only by a cruel name, the Mad. Joanna of Castile was the daughter of Ferdinand and Isabella, heiress to a vast empire that stretched across oceans. But her marriage to Philip the Handsome would turn her life from glory to grief. Philip's charm hid ambition. Soon, whispers spread that the queen's own husband sought to take her crown. When Joanna resisted, her own family turned against her, claiming she was unfit to rule. Her defiance was twisted into madness, a convenient label that erased her from power. Branded unfit to rule, she was locked away, a queen in name only, forgotten within her own kingdom. For nearly half a century, she lingered in confinement, her crown stripped, her voice silenced.
Seasons turned to years, years into decades. Joanna aged within those walls, while the world moved on without her. At last her strength faded. Joanna of Castile died not as a queen, but as a prisoner, remembered only by the stones that confined her. But Joanna was not alone. Across Europe, other royals met the same fate, erased not by death, but by silence. In England, another royal met a darker fate, a young ruler who vanished without a trace. The crown was placed upon his head too soon, a fragile ruler in a kingdom filled with deadly ambition. But in England, power was never safe. Around the young monarch, shadows began to gather. He was taken to the Tower of London, for protection, they said, but he would never leave its walls again. Within the tower's walls, the young monarch's world grew smaller with each passing day. The chambers where he stayed were silent, the windows too high to see the world beyond. Then one day, the chambers stood empty. The young monarch had vanished, leaving behind only silence. But he was not the last. Across kingdoms, other royals were erased, their names spoken only in whispers. Among them was a woman who should have ruled a kingdom, but history nearly erased her name. She was the chosen heir to England's throne, sworn in by her father, yet the crown slipped away. When her father died, the nobles broke their oaths. A woman, they said, could not rule England. So the crown was placed on another's head, and Matilda's claim was cast into shadow. Though she was denied her crown, Matilda's defiance echoed through the ages, a legacy carved in resilience. Not all erasures came with swords. Some were born from whispers, rumors strong enough to steal a crown. Some claimed the child was never royal at all, that he was smuggled into the chamber inside a warming pan. The whispers spread beyond the palace walls, until the boy's very bloodline was branded a lie. And so he grew, not as a king, but as a pretender, a prince erased, living only in exile and in rumor. 7 royals, 7 lives erased, not by death alone, but by silence, betrayal, and history's cruel hand. But the question remains, how many more were lost? How many stories lie buried, waiting in the shadows? History remembers what it chooses, but the truth is far darker. Will you follow the whispers, or let them vanish again? 7 royals, erased by time, but their shadows still linger, waiting to be uncovered. If you seek the truths history tried to bury, join us, subscribe, and follow the whispers into the dark.